What's up, guys? My name is Nate, and welcome to Small Island Engineer. So, today I want to talk to you about something called solutions architecture or solutions design, depending on how you want to coin the phrase. It's kind of a continuation of a video series that I started a little while back called Delivering an ICT Project. In this video, I'm actually gonna discuss some of the elements of creating your solution design and talk about some of the best practices. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So before we spoke about project management and engaging your customer, and now we're going to look at what's next, which is your solution design. Solution design or solutions architecture is exactly what the name suggests, basically. It's just the design of the actual solution that you are implementing. Now, unfortunately, this is honestly where a lot of ICT projects fail because a poor solution design means an overall bad solution, period. Simply put, having a poor solution design means that the solution that you're delivering is going to be flawed. It's going to be lacking some key elements that are going to be necessary for the successful delivery of that project, right? Now, there's no one reason for this happening. This can actually happen for a number of reasons, from the solutions architect not being fully familiar with the solution that they're delivering, or to there not being a solutions architect, to cost cutting, to a heavy workload for the team that's doing the solution design, or poor information, or just plain old incompetence. Like, there are a number of reasons why this can happen. Even when it does happen, though, there are serious consequences because this is probably the most essential part of your solution delivery outside of the implementation of the solution itself. Now, I've seen solution designs that didn't take in all aspects of the key elements that are involved in the solution, like, for example, some aspects of licensing, and then it came around and bit the proffering company in the butt, basically erasing profit margins and even in some cases causing the companies to come out of pocket to deliver the solution to the customer. And you best believe that that will happen, because if you sign off on a contract with a customer and the customer agrees to X details of this contract and then you want to add X squared, most customers just aren't going to agree to that, especially not if it comes at an additional cost. So, to avoid all of that, what we want to do is to ensure that we have a comprehensive solution design. And to do that, we're going to look at three key areas of a solution design. First thing is, what is the objective of the required solution? Next thing is, what are the variables that are going to be involved? And then the third and final thing that we'll look at today is basically designing the solution itself. Let's go. All right, so first things first, what is the objective of the required solution? That's the first thing that you're going to need to look at when you're designing any kind of solution. You're going to ask yourself questions like, what is this solution supposed to do? What does it deliver for the customer? What are they expecting from it? How should it function for them? Stuff like that. And then once you have your answers to those questions, then you're going to ask whether or not there is a ready-made offering for this type of solution, or it has to be bespoke, which basically means, is there something that you can propose to the customer that's plug and play for all of the needs that they have, or do you have to build each aspect of the solution individually as per the request that the customer has, right? Then you want to find out if there are any special requirements and what those special requirements are, because you're going to want to know if you need to have any additional elements in the solution in order to service the customer's requirements. Then you'll ask, will these special requirements require any additional licensing and resources, right? Because again, you want to know exactly what it is that you need to put in this solution in order to deliver all of the customer's requirements. Then you move on to, will this solution need to interact with multiple locations, so you know whether or not in configuring the solution, you need to account for any additional equipment for additional locations that will need to communicate back into this solution. Then you want to look at if it's going to interact with separate vendor solutions, because then that will impact what kind of equipment is needed and where. If, for example, you're going to need equipment for different locations, and if it's different vendors at each locations and so on, then you want to look at if the solution is going to need to be scalable, and if so, what extent are you going to need scalability? Say you have a staff of 10 people now, and maybe you're going to grow to 50 people in the next 6 months. That kind of stuff is gonna need to be considered in designing the solution itself. Also, you're going to want to look at who the main users of the solution will be. So are the main users going to be the customers themselves, or is it that the customer is rolling this out for customers of theirs? Or is it going to be main departments within the customer's company? Like maybe accounts is the only team that's really going to use the solution all that much, or maybe it's going to be IT, whatever the case may be. You need to look at who will be the main users of the solution. And then you need to look at support. What type of support is required for the solution. Software support, hardware support, that kind of stuff. And then you need to look at the limitations, right? Are there limitations to what the customer needs to be done from any vendor perspective? Like, is the customer asking for something that can also fry an egg, but, telecommunication solutions can't fry eggs? You know what I mean? What are the limitations? You definitely need to consider that whenever you're designing the solution. So next up, the second thing, what are the variables that are going to be required in this design, right? What are the existing variables? And they're going to be different depending on the type of solution that the customer requires. For example, let's say you're designing a voice solution, then some of the variables might be that the customer needs IM and presence. The customer needs telepresence. They need paging. They need voicemail. Maybe call pickup or call accounting or reporting or scheduling, right? These are different variables that might occur if it's, say, a voice over IP solution that the customer is requesting. As opposed to, let's say, they're requesting a security or a firewall solution, you might see other variables like, do they require intrusion prevention or intrusion detection services? Do they require VPN capabilities? Do they require anti-malware and antivirus services? Do they require WAF services, which is web application firewall services? And then in either of these scenarios, you have to also consider the need for redundancy, because maybe they want to have a redundant environment in case something goes down, or maybe they even want geo failover. They have different locations where they want to have the solution set up so that they have geo redundancy. Like, these are things that you also have to consider. Now, once you understand the variables involved, it's going to help you to understand the resources that you need. So understanding the variables is going to help you to focus on things like the licensing that is needed, the resources. This is how much of whatever it is that is needed, how many phones if it's a voice solution, or how many firewalls if it's a firewall solution, or how many routers if it's a networking solution, or whatever the case may be. And then you can focus on special requests as well. What additional elements are needed to accomplish these special requests, if any at all. Then there's also hardware and software support, and also subscription, wherever subscription is required. Some of these vendors, when you are purchasing their solution, they require that you have a subscription to them for certain services. So for example, if you're purchasing a Fortinet firewall, right? Say a 1500D or whatever version of firewalls that Fortinet has and offers, you can purchase the firewall in its plain state as a firewall. But then if you want services like anti-malware and antivirus
or intrusion prevention or intrusion detection or one of those kind of services, Fortinet has a subscription service that you have to also purchase in order to utilize that on the firewall. So finally now, we want to look at the last thing that we're going to look at today, which is designing the solution, right? Now, I just want to take a moment here to note that a solution design can be very simple or it can be very complicated, but it is always necessary, even in the most seemingly trivial exercises, because without it, you run the risk of messing up the simplest implementation. I'll give you an example. Recently, a friend of mine, in working with a client to set up a new environment, had a request come in with no design information, just instructions on the specifications required for the servers that they were to deploy. They requested the additional information like the networking and so on, but the information came in kind of piecemeal. So they delivered the servers based on the requirements that came in. Only afterwards to find out that the requirement wasn't actually for them to deliver a fresh set of servers, but to redeploy a pre-built, pre-configured set of servers in this new environment, right? And of course, being pre-built and pre-configured, it means that there is already a network configuration set on those servers. But no information came about how the server should connect back to the predefined network, which sits in a separate location. So you can see the kind of problem that might create. So that being said, when you're designing a solution, one of the first things that you want to consider is that a design is always necessary, right? Then the next thing that you want to be cognizant of is the existing design and infrastructure, if there is an existing design and infrastructure already in place, and how your new solution will actually integrate into this. That's going to be very important. The next thing is you want to choose your design methodology before you actually start. So there are usually two types of design methodology that people follow. It's either you design in a top-down method, which usually means that you're starting from scratch and there's no pre-existing hardware or equipment that's going to be used. So you're starting from scratch and designing a solution. Or there's a bottom-up method, which usually means that you have pre-existing hardware and software or whatever the case, equipment that will be used, and you need to accommodate for the integration of this into the design that you are now doing. Now, after you do that, it's very important that you draw it out. High-level diagrams, low-level diagrams, flowcharts, logical diagrams. It's essential that you have your roadmap in any kind of solution that you're designing, and your roadmap is going to be your diagrams, right? Finally, once you have all of that checked, then you want to check and recheck your work, especially if you have different teams that are involved. Some companies will have dedicated teams like pre-sales teams, and in a lot of the cases, the pre-sales teams will really be responsible for costing the solution. So they'll check the different vendors and see what the parts that make up the solution need, costs, or what parts you need, and what are the part numbers and so on. They'll cost and they'll build the solution through the vendors, right? But in a number of cases, the pre-sales persons actually serve as solution architects as well. Different companies will operate differently, but a number of companies do it like that. But whoever you are in the design process, whoever you are that's doing the design, the principle remains the same. Ensure you check, recheck, and gather all the necessary inputs in the design to ensure its accuracy.
And that's it, guys. Solutions architecture is a really broad topic and it encompasses a lot of different elements. But these are just some of the main things to consider whenever you're creating any kind of solution design. There's definitely a lot more to it, but if you keep these things in mind, then you're definitely going to be headed in the right direction. That's all I have for you today, guys. Drop me a line in the comment section and let me know what you think of the video. Feel free to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. As always, thanks for dropping in on my channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.